Hey everyone, Sarah at Nova again. And this week we have an update on a long-term project we've had. So the 1971, sorry, excuse me, 1975 Kawasaki Z1. There's the one. Um, if we have done two videos on this in the past. One just before we got into it, just talking about the bike itself, the model history and stuff. For those who don't know, early superbike really helped kick off the superbike era. Big, fast Japanese motors. Not the beginning, but the starting era of the universal Japanese motorcycle, UJM, the inline across the frame 4. Um, and that's the model. But since then, we did another one where we were talking about, is the bike like this worth saving? Because it was really rough, and I think we had stopped down at that point because we couldn't get the cylinders off, and that's what this is about. The pistons were so seized to the bores that they would not come off the sleeve, and it was easier for the sleeve to come out of the cylinder itself, which is not a normal thing on most engine teardowns. And you can see we had to do a lot of damage to it. We had to do all sorts. We had to cut off the top so that the cylinder would slide over it, and then slice it to get the actual piston to let go. It was kind of a pain in the butt, a lot of work, and stalled the project for a while. If you look back, that video was over a year ago, I think, when we started this. And it took us a while, hoping that some Marvel Mystery Oil and WD-40 and all the magic, solutions in the world would break free of those pistons, and they didn't. So we used brute force and a little bit of ignorance, and came apart just fine in the end. But it was actually a lot of work. But the question then was, what is it? Is it worth saving a bike like that? And there's certain bikes that absolutely would not be worth doing that to. This bike being what it is, being how special it is worth doing. It'll actually retain the value that's put into it. It'll be worth more when we're done with it than it was when it came in. And it'll continue to increase value over time. It also is really fun to ride. But there are certain bikes where it absolutely wouldn't be worth it. There'd be no monetary return, and unless you really, really love the bike, that you have to give up on some things. We have a video of Bailey talking about that one too on a Yamaha Venture that we had to call it quits on because it really wasn't worth saving. So that's the backstory on this one, and the update on this bike is we have almost a new top end on this. This is I sourced a secondhand set of cylinders. And 3 out of 4 of the cylinders of that set were great. They were in spec. They honed up beautifully. One of them had some damage to it. Thankfully, we had 2 of the 4 cylinders on the sleeves on the old cylinder set were actually savable. So I took out the bad cylinder, put in one of the savable ones from the old one, and re-sleeved that one. Honed it all, and they all came in within a decent spec. Got some aftermarket non-OEM pistons in there, but OEM spec pistons, and otherwise new gaskets, new cam chain tensioner bits, all little rubber bits, and all the pieces that are wear items on this thing. The reason this bike was parked in the first place was because he called it a cam chain tensioner failure. Not sure if that was exactly what it was. Something went wrong though with the cam chain. The timing slipped. All the valves bent. So we also have rebuilt the head completely, new valves throughout. There wasn't a single savable valve in there. But thankfully the guides were okay. So not too much. So new valves, new seals, and a lot of cleaning, new valve guide seals on that head. That's ready to go. The carbs are getting worked on. And we've done all of the seals on the bottom end, so take care of any leaks. So that's mostly the motor in a nutshell. And something else I was thinking about. Anyway, the other bits, we have a whole new front end on here. So another thing that happens with bikes that come in that's sitting for a while is your fork tubes just get pitted and rusted to a point where they're just completely not usable anymore. These are brand spanking new. The Rick, as you may know from Ricks Motorsport Electrics, they're good friends of ours. He also has another company called Old School Vintage Parts. He really knows his old Kawasaki's and stuff. I called him up for a set of fork tubes. He hooked me up with fork tubes, some of the innards I needed, a bunch of other stuff to use these on here, and sent me some other stuff that he likes. He's designed his own end the cam end seals on these Z1 motors. He's that into them. Sent me a set of those for free, so we're gonna throw those on here. So that's cool. It's cool to know the other people who are really dedicated to the stuff out there, keeping these things alive and improving on them. Other than the front end, we have new wheels. His rims were actually usable, but his spokes were kind of just rusted to a degree that we said, hey, if you're going to do any kind of real riding on this thing, they should be replaced. If you're going to go to the point of replacing your spokes, you might as well replace your rims so everything looks nice and new. So those would be nice. We actually have those built. We have new wheel bearings in those, new Heidenau vintage tires, vintage look tires, ready to go on there. So it won't be long before this thing runs again. A few cables. We're not doing a cosmetic restoration on this. That doesn't mean we're not cleaning up some things as we go. So when we're done, it will have a nice patina to it. It'll have little bits of rust showing, but hopefully not too much. And the idea is that it's not going to be a restored bike. It's going to be a repaired bike and still keep a lot of its originality as much as we possibly can, and look like a bike that has survived for as long as it has, rather than something that just rolled off the showroom floor. And to me, I love a good restoration. They're beautiful. They take a lot of skill and time, but there's something about a bike that shows its age and still performs well that is just, to me, that's extra sweet. I like them a little bit better. I like original things a little bit better than I like restored things. So this is going to be a pretty cool bike when it's all done. We may, this is actually an interesting point. Something like this, it doesn't look that good. It's so rusted that it doesn't add anything. There's no real patina there. That's sort of just swamp thing kind of stuff. So we'll probably convince the owner to swap these out to something that works better and also looks a little bit better and won't kill the overall look of the bike. It won't change too much to have that. When I say it won't kill it, when you're putting new parts on an old bike, you have to be very careful, because you start adding a shiny thing to where everything else is dull, a little bit rusty, a little bit matted, and it just starts to look wrong. So you don't want to overdo things, but a little bit of picking and choosing and careful changing of parts can really make it kind of cool and come in good. So yeah, so this will be a runner soon. That's my promise. We should pretty soon, next few weeks, have something that can roll around the yard, take a ride. We'll have some video of it shooting, and if there's anything new to talk about, then we'll do another video on the other things we found in doing this kind of restoration. So please chime in if you have any thoughts about Z1s. But regardless of these, if you have thoughts and stories about your bikes that maybe you didn't think were worth saving and were, or maybe you thought they were and it turns out that it really wasn't. So there's a lot of horror stories of trying to bring something back and it just doesn't work out. So it's never simple. It's never easy. It's always kind of a long road. But it's always rewarding when it does work out. So thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe if you haven't. And yeah, stay tuned.